Welcome to another exciting look into the showdown between internet giant Google versus the European Union. We're going into the investigation behind this repeated allegation that the European Union keeps bringing against Google and their quote-unquote violation of the antitrust law. We investigate the Android operating system and the strategies that are used in Google's comparison shopping. So when you go ahead and you look into this, essentially what antitrust means is that they are monopolizing. Google is such a giant in Europe that they actually take up 90% of the market share for internet search engines. That's 20% more than here in the United States. But they've been investigating Google for quite some time. Back in 2010 is when this all started, and the allegations that the European Commission is claiming against Google in the aspects in question being violated is that the company has become a dominant position in the market for general internet search services by systematically favoring its own comparison shopping producers in its general search results page. They also said that the Commission is concerned that users do not see the most relevant responses to queries, and that is the detriment of consumers and stifles innovation. Well, what does Google have to say about this? Their rebuttal is presented in a list of products that beat Google on a regular basis. So they are flat out saying, no, actually, there is more to what it seems on the cover. I mean, has anybody heard of Android versus Apple? I think we have. So the senior VP for Google Search said, his name, by the way, was Amit Singhal, that respectfully but strongly disagrees with the need to issue a statement of objections and look forward to making our case over the weeks ahead. But let's take a look a little bit further back. This all started back in the day when Microsoft actually, decades ago, faced the same type of allegations of antitrust. They too were becoming a monopoly. They ended up losing and having to pay heavy fines for essentially being, like I said, a monopoly. So the FTC came down hard on them, as well as the European Union, and they actually paved way for Google because of this. The European Union, like I said, has also been going in for the last 10 years, going against Google. And we look at it, and why are you so angry? Android's operating system and the strategies that Google is using in comparison shopping has to show you that they have an algorithm. They have a secret algorithm that nobody knows, that everybody wants to know, but they don't know. So what's happening is that Apple is fighting Microsoft, who is fighting Android, who is fighting everybody, and everybody's so angry. Google in their comparison shopping is said to favor people that are helping and that are in agreement with them. So for example, if I go to Google and I say, hey, I'll go ahead and showcase you on my website, can I be on your website and your top search engine? People aren't even clicking over to the next page, let alone scrolling down the page. I mean, come on, we're pretty lazy. Even though it is Europe and Americans known as the lazy ones, Europe is definitely still not wanting to click onto the second or the 120th page that you find. So what ends up happening is that all the smaller business that might end up on the second or third page are not getting the same attention as the larger businesses that entered in contracts with Google. So their comparison shopping is said to favor Google heavily. I mean, think about it. Google is a tech giant, not only an internet giant. And if you're entering in an agreement with such a big wolf, then you're going to have issues of not letting the little guy speak out. And that's really what the EU is trying to say, quote unquote. Politics aside. Okay, politics aside. But how have they done this? They're trying to learn from the past. They're trying to learn from the past and look at the new current antitrust violation that they're going through. The antitrust violation is not only being brought up by someone who is incredibly happy or unhappy from the European Commission, it's being brought on by all of those smaller companies in Europe that are saying, hey, look at me, I don't have a chance. And not to mention Bing. Bing and Google don't really get along very well if we haven't been able to tell that. But what's the funny thing is that Bing and other search engines in Europe are still, even though they're going against Google, using their Google Analytics, their special algorithm, to get the search engine going. What is this? It's a competitive analysis. So while you don't have the exact algorithm on how Google makes it and how Google does it, you do have a competitive advantage when it comes to Google, because Google found the flaw. Google learned from the past. Google learned what Microsoft did wrong and how they were levied millions of dollars after they lost their antitrust case. Google also knew what was the flaw in the other search engines and decided to become the leader of the pack, the genius, learn from the past. So what is going to happen between these two? Are they going to come up with a draft agreement? Are they going to be able to settle and be okay and be friends with each other once more, the good old happy way? Well, we don't know. What we do know is that this draft agreement would mean that Google would have to put a little bit more emphasis on the little guy. Give the little guy an option to opt out if they don't want to use the content that Google is advertising. Google is going to have to step back and look at other people and say, hey, you other search engines, you can go ahead and be on my side, and you can be on my website, and I can be on yours. Which kind of defeats the purpose. If Google is doing so well, wouldn't we want to congratulate them and say, good job, Google, for coming from such a far way and doing so well, instead of calling them a monopoly? Well, that is kind of for you to decide and to move on. So as we recap, we look at it and say, antitrust case. What is going on? The allegations. All of the, you did this wrong, Google, you did this. The 4 areas of concern, quote unquote, is that Google is favoring its own specialized services. They may have been copying or scraping competitors. Exclusive agreements are going on between Google and other website owners, and advertisers could not easily transfer campaigns if they wanted to, which would all get fixed if they win this agreement. And everybody knows nobody wants to sit in court for years and years and a decade on decades. Everybody wants to get this resolved outside. Agreement. Done. So, who will win the showdown? I don't know, but my money's on Google.